The fight over drug prices heating up on Capitol Hill today as the CEO of Novo Nordisk faced harsh criticisms from lawmakers over the cost of their blockbuster weight loss drugs Ozempic and Wegovy.
The outrageously high cost of Ozempic, Wegovy, and other prescription drugs is directly related to the broken, dysfunctional, and cruel healthcare system in our country. While the current system makes huge profits for large drug companies like Novo Nordisk, huge profits for insurance companies, and huge profits for PBMs.
All right, joining us now, StemPoint Capital CIO and Novo Nordisk shareholder, Michelle Russ. Nice to see you again. Welcome back.
Very nice to be here.
This all election year politics and, grandstanding and the like, or what do you make of the calls? What do you think is going to happen, and what does it mean for the stock? Let's start there.
So let's first start by saying that what happened today isn't anything new. I mean, we've heard many of these arguments before. They're very valid. The idea that there's a finite amount of dollars in the system for healthcare costs. And I think that clearly there's a new market that's coming together and forming with the GLP-1s, and what they mean for that system is troubling to many. And I think you can't just have one group up there talking about this and the inefficiencies. I think you did see Senator Sanders call out the PBMs and the distributors as well. And I think that if you look at the dollars that actually make their way into the drug makers' pockets, as he said, it's actually a lot less than many Americans would believe if they just saw these off the cuff. So it's really something that I think needs to be understood from a multitude of angles, as well as the preventative measure that these drugs are going to be filling in, and the downstream effect of savings that's going to come at the later stages.
Isn't it inevitable at some point, and probably sooner rather than later, that the prices for these drugs is going to come down? Price is going to come down?
Yes.
And so what's the impact then going to be for earnings on stocks like this?
Exactly. So a couple of these companies have very, very deep pipelines. And we're seeing between Lilly and Novo, the depth of their pipeline is continuing to evolve. We're seeing phase 1 to phase 3 trials that will only enhance what they're already able to do, whether it's on the side effect profile, the duration of effect, or, to your point, on the cost. I think one of the most important features of this is that there are a multitude of ways that costs are going to come down for the system. It's not only going to be in the shape of more competitors that do come into the market. Right now, you're really dealing with a duopoly. But as these drugs become oral compounds, and then furthermore, there is going to be that level and measure of cost cuts that are going to continue to go into effect from government agencies like Medicare.
But we don't think that the best money's been made in the Novos or Lillys
Not
at
necessarily.
This point.
I think we're going to be looking at very specific drug outcomes trials, whether or not these drugs continue to impact the long-term effect of patients' health. So we've seen it in specific studies already, and the continuation of those studies and the depth of these responses is going to be something that can continue to really lift these companies and maintain the earnings potential.
Last time you were here, we talked about the prospect for rate cuts and how beneficial that would be to some of the smaller biotech companies that rely on borrowing money for their R&D and everything else that they do. Now that we've gotten the 50 basis points, and we know, or at least we think, what the trend is going to be from here, how are we thinking about that?
Same view. I think time obviously will tell. There's this idea of obviously the hard and soft landing, whether or not biotech's duration is going to really hold it up from the sector that is able to feel the benefit of this cut to that degree. We are, in particular, very positive on biotech based on the fundamentals and the outcome. And I think as dollars flow into the system, whether it's through secondaries, new IPOs, and new investors, all of those are positive to lift the sector. But for us and what we do, it really is the fundamentals that are driving the change and where we think biotech can shine going forward.
Let's talk about a couple of names I have on my list. IMVT. IMV as in Victor, T as in Tom. That's the ticker for wherever you're playing.
Immunovant.
Immunovant. Tell me about it.
Immunovant is a company that has what I'd like to call a pipeline in a product. And when you look at specific companies, what has been so effective, what is effective for pharma and really grown them over the course of their history, is finding a phenomenal new target or new application and being able to use that for a multitude of different diseases. And we've seen this with drugs like Humira. We've seen this with drugs like Dupixent. And what we have understood so far is that a new target called the FcRn pathway can touch a multitude of different diseases. In particular, there's 23 that we have basically sourced and understood could be utilized. if this company continues, Immunovant continues to display the early success they have in the number of different indications, it could be a dramatic potential, multi-billion-dollar opportunity, something that has long duration and, very importantly, massive impact to patients in these rare diseases.
Okay, we'll follow that one. Denali Therapeutics, DNLI.
Denali is very exciting because, dare I say, the platform that they're working on, there's something very unique to diseases that impact the brain, neuromuscular, neurodegenerative diseases. And we've had a problem historically being able to reach the brain and really make ultimate change to patients. What Denali proposes and have shown they can do in clinical testing is be able to pass that through that blood-brain barrier to really target the brain in a way that we have been unable to touch. In a way, it's the final frontier of medicine of sorts, and what they've been able to show historically and what they can, we believe, over the next 12 months is incredibly exciting and dramatic.
Appreciate you being here once again.
Absolutely.
It's good to catch up with you, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle Ross.